Hi guys, welcome back to your Not So Ordinary Scrapbook channel. Today I thought that I would sort out some pages to go in this book for my December daily. I knew that I needed to add some pages and because there's only about 20 pages, so there's 10 of these. So I think I'm going to add in like a couple of these in here, these postcards that Randy Reed made. I have a couple of those. This was off of a Sephora advent calendar. And then I have some pocket pages or pocket Project Life cards that I can stick into some of these pockets where I want them. And I found some envelopes that I can punch and stick in here as well. And a doily. Maybe a smaller page. I'm not sure. I do like to do the half a page. I don't know if you're familiar with that, where you do like, not necessarily this one. So it flips on one and then it flips on another. That's sometimes fun. Like if I use this one and this one together because they contrast well together. And then what else do I have in here? And then just some additional pages. I think I might use some of these foamies too. Like you could punch a hole here, maybe if I wanted to, or this. Chances are I won't though, because that is kind of small now that I look at it. But there's a whole load of things that I can do. And when I find my hole punch, then I will be in good shape. So, right now, I think what I'm going to do is I am going to cut down some paper that I want to use in this book to fill up the pages. So, as you know, I like to use double-sided paper for my pages because I like to do both sides. And so basically what I will do is I will start cutting up paper. I don't think I'm going to use this one, even though it is Christmas. It doesn't quite match my vibe, if that makes any sense. So what I'll do is I'll take a pencil and then I'll trace this so it's the exact same size that I want. And if you're familiar with my other December dailies, I like to use border punches like these. I have a whole collection of Martha Stewart border punches, and that just kind of adds some interest to the page, especially if it's not going to be in a page protector. So what I need is a pencil. I don't know if this will show up or not. I might have to do it on the white side because this is a drawing pencil. And they tend to be a little bit lighter. So I've actually been painting lately, which is so fun. I would like to do that later tonight too if I have time. I do have to take some training courses online, but they're self-paced, so I can do that at any time. But for me to receive my credential, I have a temporary credential right now, but in order to have a full credential in my field, I need 9 more hours of intervention, and I need 21 more hours of assessment. And each of the training courses is an hour long, and each one is equivalent to 1 credit hour. And so you just got to find the ones that match what you need for your credential. And so I just look for the ones that are in assessment and intervention, and then I just take those courses. They're free. I don't have to pay anything for them. So unless I do a Zoom one. Now there are some courses that also offer credit hours in those things, but they're Zoom and you do have to pay for those. And I have paid for a few of them. And those are really probably the most helpful when you do it that way, because you get to interact with other providers. So usually when I do a Zoom course, there are other disciplines in those classes. So we have service coordinators in those courses. We have occupational therapists. We have physical therapists. And we have speech and language pathologists. So we're taking classes with all of the different disciplines of therapy. And it's nice because then we kind of all work together anyway. So I try to find out what the physical therapist is doing with the child and what the occupational therapist is doing with the child. And then I try to reinforce that through play. And that is my job. I'm the play therapist. So if, let's say, the physical therapist is trying to work on helping a child learn to sit up or building their core muscles so they can learn to sit up. I plan activities that enhance their core muscle groups. So, and that can look like anything from having the mom hold the child in different positions and having the child reach for toys. If a child prefers one side over the other and is using the dominant side more than the other side of their body, we work to enhance the opposite side, so we plan activities so the child uses the other side. And it's really exciting to see them improve, especially when all three therapists are working together. Because, and speech too, I guess all 4 of us are working together, because we work with speech as well. So the speech pathologist will make a list of words that the child needs to work on learning to say, and then we plan activities around the use of those words. So, and we also focus on sign language. So we'll teach children, along with practicing the speech, we'll teach them the signs for certain things. Just basic signs, unless they have a hearing issue. Generally, it's just simple signs like more, again, stop, go, up, down, help, open, close, those kinds of things, just so they can, ones that aid in their independence. So that's kind of fun. And I think I enjoy planning the activities as much as I do implementing them. It's fun. And I love working with the parents. When the parents are actively involved in the therapy session, the children just light up. They absolutely love it. And so that's always exciting to see. But those kind of courses are really beneficial because you can make friends in there. I've made a couple friends that we email back and forth, because they put us in small groups sometimes, and usually in your small group you have one from each domain, so you're not just in a group with other or they put you in a group, I don't know why I said domain, disciplines. That way you're practicing working together as a team. They'll give you a scenario, and then we work together in the small group. So it's kind of nicer than like doing, I mean, you have to, there's no way that you could do just all Zoom ones, just because you have a limited time to get these courses done. And these courses, the Zoom ones, are offered throughout the year, but they're dated, and there's only so many offered per month. So the self-guided ones that you can do on your own time are helpful, because then you're just watching a video and then you have a test at the end. So anyway, I need to have all of this done by the middle of June for when my temporary credential expires. And I have to they have to give me my full temporary credential, or my full credential, and then for 18 months you're kind of I don't think anyone, like, I haven't had anyone like watch over me, but like when you're new, you just kind of, you're asking a lot of questions and you're learning from things, and you know, I'm in a group of people that, this forum group that, with other developmental therapists that discusses like specific situations. Now we can't use the client's names because of HIPAA, but we can talk about like specific cases, like situations, without going into like explicit detail, and like what other people would do in that situation, or how we can, how the instructor will like, well, it's not really an instructor, it's like a forum, but like they will help you figure out what to do, because sometimes the answer is not always clear and we don't know everything, and especially when you're new, like I am. I'm a newbie, so I'm still learning, and thankfully I have a boss that is super cool, so I can ask her questions whenever I want. If I have to turn in something, like I had to turn in a 6-month report on a child last week, and like I wanted her to look at it first to see if I did it right, and she did, and she said it was good. But I mean, it's best to get another set of eyes to look at stuff, and that you can bounce questions off of, because there's no way that you can know everything, or know even like what activities. Sometimes you have children that have like extreme disabilities that are maybe beyond your scope of expertise, and no amount of research, like you can learn about whatever the disability is by going online, you know, and researching the topic or researching the disability, if you've never heard of it, and you can research like activities that enhance like certain things that they need to work on. But asking someone that you know is oftentimes better, because my boss has worked in this field for decades, so she knows, like she's pretty much dealt with almost everything, and at this point, so I just ask her like, what would you do in this situation? What activities would you plan? What toys would you use? And she's just very open and upfront about it. She doesn't expect us to know everything off the top of our heads, which is good. Because you can learn a lot about stuff in school that but it's not necessarily what pertains to what you need at the moment. And you don't always remember everything. You know, you can vaguely remember studying something, but not remember everything. And so It's always best if you have a mentor or a coach. Because we coach the parents, and so it's nice for us to have someone that can somewhat coach us when we need it too. So what I'm doing right now is I'm cutting these down. This video is going to be so pieced together. I don't even know. Like, I have tried recording this video a couple times already, and then I realized that my storage was full. So I had to empty my storage because it kept cutting off. The video kept cutting off. And, oh, I think I did cut off the branding strip. So I don't even know what I talked about in the other two videos, and I don't know if I'm even going to use those because they are short. I mean, they weren't super short, but one was like 14 minutes and one was 9 minutes, and it's like, so I don't even remember what I was necessarily talking about in those videos. I know I was talking about this book that I'm reading called Girl Wash Your Face. And it's been on my TBR for a while now. But I didn't own the book, and I have a lot of books in my bookshelf that are on my TBR, so that I'm trying to get through. And I promised myself that I wouldn't buy any more books until I read all the books that I have. And when I'm done with my books, most of the time I put them outside in my little free library, but like, if I have a really good book that I really love, I will keep it, like if I want to read it again. But most of the time I share it with the community, just because my goal is to have an empty bookshelf or empty out bookshelves. And I still have a ton of books that were homeschool books that my boys read over the years, and I've put some in the little free library for younger people. I like to keep a variety of age books for different ages in my library. Boy, this room is really hot right now. Goodness gracious. It's so hot. I'm like, it's sweltering in here. But we haven't turned on the air yet, and we've got the heat off. And I don't even know if these windows open, to be honest, because they're the old windows. We haven't replaced these windows yet. It's probably why it's so hot in here. But anyways, this book, I found at the garage sale for $1, or at a garage sale last weekend for $1. And I bought it. I couldn't pass it up. So, but I'm really enjoying it. The first chapter made me laugh so hard because she talks about peeing her pants. She was on the trampoline with her kids, and she was showing off to them like that she could still do this one thing that she did when she was younger. and she jumped up in the air, and on the way down, she peed her pants. And if you've ever been someone who's ever jumped on a trampoline, you might know that that sometimes happens. It's never happened to me on a trampoline, but it has happened to me when I've had a really bad cold, and when you're coughing, like hacking and coughing really hard. Yeah, not fun. Not fun at all. But the premise of the chapter, the reason why she was talking about that, was because we are so hard on ourselves. Like, we're human beings, and we get really hard on ourselves with like perfection, and when this happened to her, she was thinking about, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that, and thinking, what are my kids gonna think, and all these silly things that ran through her head. And then she came to the realization that we are all human, and along with everything, including bodily functions, it happens. Things happen, and it's just like there's no reason to like dwell on it or stress about it, because it's just part of life. And when we have if we had a friend that something happened to them, like that, like if a friend, came up and told us that, oh my gosh, this happened to me, more than likely we're going to say, oh yeah, that happened to me too, or show empathy, like, oh my gosh, no, don't worry about it. It's not that big of a deal, or whatever, we're easy to forgive, other people, or make, exceptions for other people, in all areas. But when it comes to ourselves, we're not that easy to accept imperfections in ourselves. And that was a really good chapter. And then the next chapter, I'm at chapter 4, and I'm really, really enjoying it. It's a really easy read. There's not a lot of technical jargon, so I find that some psychology-based books can be full of a lot of technical jargon, and it just kind of makes the book boring. Because most people don't, unless you're studying it for a reason, like you're going to use it in the clinical sense, that's a different story. But like if you are just reading it for self-help or whatever, or to gain insight on yourself, those kind of books can just be boring and hard to get through, or at least for me anyway. I have a hard time getting through them. So the next chapter was about saying yes too much, like saying yes to things that you wish that you would have said no to, and then like saying yes to something and then regretting it after, which has happened to me before too. I've done that, and I think most people have. They've said yes to volunteering when it comes down to the day that they're supposed to volunteer, and they're like, why did I say yes? Oh my gosh, I don't want to do this, and or volunteer for something at work, maybe work overtime, maybe do a special project or whatever, and or work with a team member that you don't particularly like to work with or whatever, and I think we all do that sometimes. And she talks about how it's okay to say no, and that we should actually say no, because our life is important too, even if it's just a party or it's babysitting or it's, you know, doing a favor for someone. If we feel convicted by it and we really want to do it, then we should say yes. But we shouldn't be saying yes to everything, because when you say yes to everything, then you have a lot of regret. And not always. I shouldn't say this always happens, because sometimes when I've been invited to a party, I have a lot of anxiety. And so initially when people invite me to something, I'm excited about it. And I'm like, oh, this will be fun, you know. And I'm talking to them and I'm like, oh, this will be fun. I'm excited about it. And then when it comes down to the day of it, I'm like, I don't want to go. I really don't want to go. And, or I don't want to, I'll feel awkward, or I would rather stay home, or I'm tired, or whatever the reason is, you know. I've been there, done that. And you end up making an excuse, you know, sometimes, so you can bow out of it, or you go and you actually end up having a really good time. So, you just got to pick and choose. And she just kind of gives you permission to say no in instances. I know I was the person at church. One reason why I quit going to church, I mean, there were a few reasons why I quit going. And one reason why was because I was easily swayed into doing things. Like, people would ask me to do stuff, and I was easily swayed into saying yes. And I was overwhelmed. I got to the point where I was doing so much at church, because let's face it, there are some people at church that do, there's a small handful of people at church that do pretty much everything. And then there's a huge group of people that say no, and then it's always the same people generally. There's the people that volunteer, and then there's the people that don't volunteer. And there's nothing against, you know, the people that don't volunteer, but a lot of the time when we take on too much, we're not enjoying what we're doing. You know, we're not, are we really giving a gift to God and working for God if we're you know, on edge, tired, grumpy, not enjoying what we're doing? For years I taught Sunday school, and don't get me wrong, I enjoyed teaching Sunday school, but not every single week. And it got to the point in a couple churches that we went to where I hadn't been to a church service in years. Like, I had not been able to sit through a church service and listen to a sermon or go to adult Bible study in years, or adult Sunday school in years, because I was always with the kids and my soul was not being fed. Like, I was studying the lesson, I was teaching, but I was not having, like, no one was helping me. And at first, at one church, I was stuck in this really small room that was freezing cold in the winter and swelteringly hot in the summertime. And it was almost big enough to be a closet. It wasn't even big enough. And I had like 4 kids in there. And I would have to do Sunday school in there. And the kids were freezing, and I was freezing in the wintertime. And it was just the most uncomfortable situation. And no one was using the nursery. That was a thing that I never got. The nursery was supposed to be used for 2 and 3 year olds, or the nursery class of Sunday school, but we had no one that age. And so I talked to the pastor, and I'm like, something needs to change or I'm not going to teach anymore. And he said, what is it? And I said, we have to move out of that closet. We cannot do Sunday school in there anymore. I said, it is miserable for the kids. It is miserable for me. It is completely uncomfortable. And we're rushing through the lesson because we're so cold, you know. And he's like, well, I don't know where else to put you. And I said, why can't we go in the nursery? I said, we have no one that age group in our church right now. I said, why can't we use the nursery? And he's like, well, I'll talk to the committee and we'll decide, you know, or the elders, and see if that would be okay. So he came back and he told me, yeah, it's okay if you use it, but once we get little kids again, then you'll have to give it up again. And I'm thinking, okay, but that was one church that I felt like I had volunteered I was on so many committees and doing so much stuff that I was not enjoying it, and I wasn't being fed, like, because I wasn't I was taking on a working role and not like a role of a church member. And that happens a lot in ministry. A lot of like ministers and teachers, and I mean, I've heard about this before. Like, it's not just me. I mean, it's other people as well. But we stopped going because the last church we went to, they were constantly having me volunteer for stuff. And by that time, I was just fried. You know, they thought, oh, she doesn't work outside the home. She's a homeschool mom. You know, and I just got burnt out of church. I got burnt out of going. And I feel bad about it in a sense, because my kids were, well, Hunter and Ethan were older teenagers. It was when they started getting jobs outside of the home. So like Hunter worked at Walmart, and so he wasn't always able to go with us. Scott started working Sundays, so then I would have to go by myself with Ethan. And we got in the habit of sleeping in. We were tired, you know, and it just happened. Do I feel the calling to go back to church? No, I do watch church because I watch it online with my son and daughter-in-law, because they love their church, and I've been to their church, and it's done, like, it's changed their life. There was a long time when Matt was an atheist, and he didn't necessarily believe in God. He was raised Christian. We kind of forced him to go to church for years. And then, and he, you know, as he got older, and then some things happened in some of the churches that we went to that, like the church broke up, or, you know, or they split, or like in one case, the pastor quit the day after Christmas. and he didn't act very appropriately when he quit, because he quit on the pulpit. And like those kind of things, in kids' formative years really affect them. And so Matt didn't want to go back to church. And we didn't push him. But, I was still going to church at that time. We just didn't make him go, because he was an adult by this time anyway. He was graduated from high school when he quit going to church. And then the next church that we went to, after that pastor quit, we left that church. And then we started going to a different church. And that church was pretty legalistic, and kind of judgmental. And we went to it until Hunter got a job at Walmart, and he was 17 when he got a job at Walmart, 16 or 17. And then we quit going there because the church split. And so the church went two different directions. They started a different church. The old church still exists, but there's like a new church with half the church members started a new church. And at that point, I was about done with church. I was like, I'm done. I'm tired of this keeps happening. I love God. I read the Bible. I do Bible study with my friends. At that time, I was going to a Bible study with 3 of my girlfriends up in Bloomington, and so I was okay with it. And then Matt moved to Arizona, and he met Yesenia, who is a very strong Christian, and which is funny because I prayed that Matt would meet someone like that would bring him back to the Lord, and she did, and they are very strong in their faith and their church family. And that church has an online Sunday service, and it's Pentecostal, it's what is it? Apostolic. And I am not a person who ever went to an apostolic church. But the people in that church are so nice and so kind. And when I go out there, I go to church with them. And I've met all of them, and they have just embraced Matt and Yessie into their family. And I guess Yessie went to it before her and Matt got together, but she wasn't like a regular attendee. And then her and Matt got married, and both of them were saved, and they got baptized and all that stuff. And now Matt does audio video for the church, and so I watch those church services every Sunday just so I can spend time with them, kind of like I'm going to church with my family. And I can see my granddaughter and Yessie every Sunday. I can see them talking to people and turning around and singing and praising God and all that stuff. And that just warms my heart that I feel like I'm going to church with my family. The only thing that concerns me, and why I think I need to find a church here in our area sometime, is because I worry about Hunter and Ethan. I don't know if Jordan is a Christian or not. They were not married in a church. She has never brought up God at all. I know her grandma is Methodist, because she goes to her grandma and grandpa go to First United Methodist Church in Clinton, and my parents are Methodist. They go to First United Methodist Church in Lake Havasu. But I was baptized Methodist, but I grew up Baptist. My mom left the Methodist church because my dad was Baptist. My dad grew up Baptist, and they became Baptist, and I was raised Baptist. And then after they moved to Missouri, my dad's aunt and uncle, my aunt Verna and Uncle Ray, were Methodist, and so they decided to become Methodist again, and they're still Methodist. I don't necessarily want to be Methodist. I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure what church I want to go to. But I know that Hunter and Ethan have strayed. I know they have. And I mean, Ethan so much as far as, I don't know what's going on with Ethan right now. He has hit a rebellion. He's not like loudly rebellious, but he's 21. He thinks he's invincible. He's doing things that I don't agree with. He's not breaking the law because marijuana is legal in our state. But I don't like the fact that he smokes pot, or buys pot at the dispensary. I don't know if he's eating gummies or smoking it, to be honest. But he's hanging around with people from work that are his age that do this stuff. We live in a small town where, you know, there are dispensaries all over the place. I mean, it's readily available, easy to get a hold of. But I don't like his attitude toward Jesus. He was going to go to this thing, for 420, which is like the marijuana day or whatever. But this festival that our town was going to throw, but it ended up raining that day, and it was on Easter Sunday. And Ethan bought a costume for this festival where he was dressed as Jesus but wearing a horse head. And I don't know what the significance of it was, but I found it very distasteful. He thought it was funny. All of his friends thought it was funny. Hunter thought it was funny. Scott could have cared less. He doesn't care about it, but it kind of bothered me. I mean, it really bothered me that on Easter Sunday, he's wearing a horse head and a Jesus outfit. That really bothered me. And then I noticed the other day when Gabe came over, his friend Gabe, came over to play magic cards. They were sitting at the dining room table, and Ethan's mat that he plays magic cards on it was Jesus. Like, it was a picture of Jesus on there. And I'm like, okay, why do you, I have not even confronted him or talked to him about it or whatever. But, like, if he's doing it because he loves the Lord, that's one thing. Because both Hunter and Ethan have been baptized. But if he's doing it blasphemously, that really bothers me. And I don't know if there's anything I can do about it because they're adults. I mean, I can pray about it. I can pray for them. I do believe in the power of prayer, but I don't know. But he never, Hunter and Ethan never went through a rebellious phase. Hunter jumped into parenthood way sooner than what I had planned for his life. And I didn't expect him to be married at 23 either. But, that's what he chose for his life. And I do love Jordan, and I love my grandkids. I wouldn't trade it for the world. But I know that at 23 years old, he has a very difficult life. you know, he doesn't have very much money, because, you know, everything is really expensive, and he's running a household, and he's got 4 kids, and, you know, 2 biologically and 2 adopted. And it's just, it's a lot. It's a lot for a 23-year-old. I don't know any other 23-year-olds that have 4 kids that they're raising. But it's a lot. And Ethan, you know, Ethan's single, but he's acting single now. You know, he's spending a lot of time in his room, and I worry. There's this thing with marijuana going on right now with young people. I've been watching a lot of my friend from Wisconsin. Her son has developed cannabis induced psychosis, and now he's schizophrenic, and it's from the marijuana use. And so she was the one who alerted me to it. But then I was watching a Dr. Phil documentary on YouTube about it, and a girl killed a friend because she suffered from it. So it's becoming more and more common. Like, the marijuana of today is not the same as it was when we were kids. And so I really worry about him. But I know that he's more withdrawn. Like, he spends a lot of time in his bedroom. He will come out and get food, but he doesn't spend a lot of time with us. He does work out every day, but it's kind of counterproductive if you're smoking pot and you're working out at the gym constantly. And I don't like the thought that he's driving that way. I mean, I don't know how high he is. I really don't know. Like, he doesn't appear to be high, but he does appear to be, like, withdrawn and kind of depressed. He doesn't really act depressed, but he kind of does. I mean, because he hangs out in his room so much, but I don't know. I just have a lot on my plate. And then Easter kind of blew up in our face. And so I'm talking to my daughter-in-law, but, like, we kind of got into it about parenting and potty training, and I kind of overstepped my boundaries where I shouldn't have, and it kind of got ugly. And she didn't talk to me for a few days. But I was overwhelmed. I mean, I had been watching those kids for 2 months straight. I was overwhelmed. And it was only supposed to be like for 1 month we had agreed to, and we were tired. And, you know, Scott and I had gotten up early Easter Sunday. We had, you know, got all the food together. We wanted it to look really nice, you know, everything, so the family would have a good time. And then it just kind of blew up in our face. And there's nothing I can do about it. We just got to heal. At the garage sale, I texted her a couple times and asked her if she wanted me to pick up a couple things. I picked up a bed rail for her and a weighted blanket for her at 2 different garage sales. And she was pleasant. I mean, when we were texting back and forth, but we were really close. I mean, we had become very close, and she is going to, you know, she's going to school for the same thing that I am currently doing as a profession. So it's like, you know, we had a lot in common, and my heart breaks that happened. And it's really my fault for overstepping my boundaries, but, or overstepping their boundaries, I guess. But, I don't know how to take it back. I mean, I still feel the conviction that I was right in the situation. I don't apologize for that, but I apologize for I was reactive, and I didn't think it through. It was just like in the moment. I was stressed out. I was tired. All of that all balled up into one, and then this whole thing with the potty training of Esme, and, you know, them getting on her so hard, you know, and she's only 3 and she's just starting to potty train. And it's like, I don't like the idea of punishment for potty training. I think that it's counterproductive. You know, I have my own opinions about that, but like, I should have just let it go, and I didn't, and it just didn't turn out well. But anyway, so these are the things that I chose to put in. I guess I'm sitting here talking and not even telling you. So this card is probably going to go in here, this Christmas gift list, Christmas memory. Then I have these 2 frames I can make into shaker pockets. I have this card. Most of these cards came from Ellie Studio, and they're old because I ended my subscription with them probably over a year ago. I ended all of my subscriptions just because I wanted to save money. I needed to save money. So this is, and Ellie Studio is like the cheapest subscription ever because it's only like $12 a month. I mean, it's not really that much, but still, I mean, $12 is $12. So this says Merry Moment number 1, Merry Moment number 2, and then there's some paper. This says Fa La La. This is just a cut off piece of a card. Good Eats. These are the days. Here's a blue one. There's some arrows. Another one with arrows. Gray with Hearts. This is currently Eat, Sleep, Repeat. This is a little envelope with a little pocket in it, or a window in it. I love 3 things right now. Just kind of like notebook grit or lined paper. A gingham. Ask for Story. A red flag. A Christmas tree. A little envelope. Here's one that I made that has a sticker on it. On this day, a gray like snow scene. This has 1 through 5. Let's get together. Music paper or music card. Traditions, wonder, family, friends, celebration, love and joy. We go together like weather report. In the mail. Those look like snowflakes. Here's one that I had punched a circle out of. It says the details. Good times. Favorite songs. Kind of a monochromatic rainbow type thing. This is Let's Eat. There's rainbow dot line paper. This is 1 through 6. It's a larger one. A couple more small envelopes. This is a pie graph. Happy Little Moment. Another rainbow one. Insta Love. Lovely Moment. 1, 2, 3. Focusing on green with white flags. Hello Winter. Happy New Year. Remember. It's a green line one. Snowflakes. Another green flag. December highlights. Blue hearts. This happened. The best day. A season of wonder, joy, love, and hope. This was the best. A star on green. On the scale of naughty and nice. It's a gray. Currently watching. Hearts. Holiday playlist. This was awesome. Currently eating, watching, reading, listening, decorating, baking, making, visiting, enjoying. Currently family favorite. On the menu. Currently the perfect day. Another green stripe. 1 through 5. Hello Beautiful. A red heart. This is 1 through 10 list. It's another one of Randy Reed's artwork that I'll probably stick in there as a page. Here's some other, that looks like a retro pattern. Reasons Why, 1, 2, 3. And a dot, XOXO, Monday through Sunday. Red stripe. This is just a piece of cardstock. After Christmas, New Year's Day. Noteworthy, another piece of cardstock, double-sided. This is double-sided cardstock. Here's another green card. December, a couple larger grid frames. This came from Amazon, from their wish list catalog. This says You and Me. This is kind of a holiday, not holiday, like a vacation map thing. A heart doily. This came from a Sephora advent calendar. I thought about cutting this off and then using that as a page. Here's some corrugated chip, or not chipboard, it's I don't know if that would be considered cardboard. It's not necessarily cardboard, but it's like corrugated paper. Enjoy the little things. Number 4. There's a card with trees and apples. What happens under the mistletoe stays under the mistletoe. Here's this is like acrylic type thing that's got the months and the days. Our Winter Wonderland, a camera, a green grid, houses, Let It Snow, and then this is kind of an envelope I was going to use for page 2. It's just a little one that's vertical. This year I plan to, an ampersand, and breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So that is it. That is all the cards and such I'm going to use in this December daily. And then we'll start putting it together in the next video. So we'll go through embellishments maybe next, after I get all the pages punched and put in here the way that I want them. And then I'm going to stick the cards in where I want them. And then we'll start scrapbooking. So I thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I don't know if I'll decorate the front. I usually do. I usually put something on the front. I may or may not do that. It just depends. I cleaned my office and now I can't find anything. So I don't know where all that stuff is. But hopefully I can find something to put on it, because I kind of like decorating the front, but it is what it is. I just kind of want to get it done by this point because it's almost May. So, but I hope you have a great day and a great week. And I will probably see you back here on Friday. Bye.